What a night. What a night to tell some great tales tonight. Tales from the Garrison House. Welcome to the historic Hannah Dustin Garrison House in beautiful historic Haverhill. You know, this house was here so long. It's got so many stories to tell and a lot of great memories in this house. Some sad memories too. This was a outpost, a military base. Later the Dustins lived here. But I'm going to tell you some great stories tonight. So let's tune in. Got my friend here. We're tuning in all over the place. We're on Facebook tonight. We are all over the place. Welcome. Welcome to Tales of the Garrison House. I'm the host of the Tales. Your host, Tom Spitalere, as we discuss some tales from this garrison. Well, let's start with some tales. Let's start with a little history. The Garrison House dates back to 1689, and it was the outpost of Thomas and Hannah Dustin. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. If you have any questions or hear some tales you want to know more about, hit me up. We'll talk about it. We had a little trouble getting going tonight. The spirits were really flying here tonight, so we had a lot of trouble getting started. Sorry we're running a little late tonight, but we are going to have this out for a while, so I want you to thoroughly enjoy this tonight. The first tale we're going to tell, it's not really a tale, it's the story of this garrison built in 1689 by Thomas Dustin. Behind me is where I cook my food. Great hearth back there. It's the biggest hearth in the city. This was built as a military outpost to protect the settlers against raids and attacks, since Haverhill was an outpost community. There was nothing north of Haverhill, south of Haverhill, yes, but north, no. So we're going to enjoy this tonight. And we're going to enjoy this thoroughly tonight as we talk about tales on and on. So, one of the greatest tales that come out of the city of Haverhill, and there's a lot of them, is the Countess. Can't even see anymore. That's what happens when you reach a ripe old age of over 100 or 200, where you know these tales, or you can read them. All right, so the eyes are fixed. The first one is about the Countess, Mary DeVore. She is buried in the other side of the Haverhill, down near Rocks Village. And she married a French count but never left the area. I know not time and space so in interviewing, whether still waiting with trust and serene, thou bearest up thy foremost years and 10, or called at last art how heaven's citizen. But here or there a pleasant thought of thee, like an old friend all day, has been with me, the shy, still boy, from whom thy kindly hand, smooth his hard pathway to the wondered land of thought and fancy, in gray manhood yet, keeps green the memory of his early debt. Today, when truth and falsehood speak their words, through hot-lipped cannon and the teeth of swords, listen with quickened heart and ear intent to each sharp clause of that stern argument. I still can hear at time a softer note of the old pastoral music round me float, while though the hot gleam of our civil strife looms the green mirage of simpler life, as at his alien post the sentinel drops the old bucket in the homestead well, and hears old voices in the windows that toss. Above the head, the live oaks beard moss. So, in the trial time and under the skies, shadowed by swords, like Islam's paradise, I wait and watch to let my fancy stray to marvelous scene in youth's Arcadian day, and whosever the pencil dipped in dreams, shades of brown words or tints, the sunset streams. The country doctor in the foreground seems, whose ancient silky down the village lanes, dragged like a war-capped captive, ills and pains. I could not print the scenery of my song, mindless of one who looked thereon so long, who night and day on duty's lonely round made friends in the words and rocks, and knew the sound on each small rock, and what the hillside trees said to the winds that loud their leafy lake keys, who saw so keenly and well would paint the village folk all their humors quaint, the parson ambling on his wall-eyed roan, grave and erect, a white hair backward blown, a tough old boatman, half amphibious grown, the muttering witch wife of the gossip tale, and the loud straggler leaving his black mail on the old customs, habits, superstitions, fears, and that lies buried under 50 years. To those as is most fit, I bring my lay, and grateful own the debt I cannot pay. Overworded northern ridge between its houses brown, to the dark tunnel of the bridge, to the street comes straggling down. You'll catch a glimpse through birch and pine of the gabled roof and porch, the tavern with its swinging sign, the sharp horn of the church. The river's steel blue crescent curves to meet in ebb and flow, the single broken wharf that serves from sloop to gondola, with salt sea scents along its shores. The heavy hay boats crawl, the long antenna and their oars, its lazy rise and fall along the gray abundance walls. The idle shad net dries. The toll in his cobbler's stall sits smoking with closed eyes. You hear the pier's low undertone of the waves that chafe and gnaw. You start, a skipper's horn is blown to raise the creaking draw. At times, a blacksmith's anvil pounds. Anvil sounds with slow and slugged beat on a stagecoach on its dusty rounds. Wakes up the staring street, a place for idle eyes and ears, a cobbled web nook of dreams, left by a stream whose waves are years. The stranded village seems and they're like others, moss and rust. The native dweller clings and keeps the unquivering trust, the old dull round of things. The fisher drops his patent lines. The farmer sows his grain, content to hear the murmuring pines, instead of the railroad train. Go where along the tangled steep that slopes against the west, the hamlets a buried idlers sleep, and still plunder the rest. To back the locust flowery plume, the birch pale green scarf, and the break of the web of briar and bloom. From name and epithet, a simple muster roll of death, on pomp and romance shorn, the dry old names that common breathe, has cheapened the outworn, yet paused by one low mound and pot, the wind, the wild vines, or it's laced, and read the words by rustic art upon its headstone traced. Happily yawn white-haired villagers of fourscore years can say what means that noble name of her who keeps with the common clay. An exile from the Glasgow land, found refuge here and rest, and loved of all the village band. Its fairest and its best, he knelt with her on the Sabbath morns. He worshipped through her eyes, and on the pride, the doubts and scorns, stole her faith, surprise. Her simple daily life had saw, but the homeliness duties tried. It's all things by an untaught law of fitness justified. For her, his rank aside, he took the hue and the tone of a lovely life and toil, and made it her simple ways his own. Yet still, in gay and careless ease, the harvest field or dance, he brought the gentle curtsies, the nameless graces of France, and also who taught him love not less. From him she loved in turn, caught in her sweet, unconscious. We love what love is quick to learn. Each grew to each in please accord, nor knew the gazing town. If she looked upward to her Lord, or he to her looked down, how sweet when summer's day was o'er, his violin mirth and wail, his violin mirth and wail, the walk on pleasant Newbury shores, the river's moonlight sail. Ah, life is brief, though love to be long. The altar and the bier and the beer, the burial hymn, the bridal song, were both one in one short year. Her rest quiet on the hill, beneath the locust bloom. Far off her lover sleeps is as still, within his scrutinizing tomb. The Gascon lord the village made, in death still clasp their hands. The love that levels rank and grade unites their severed lands. What matter whose the hillside grave, or those that blazon stone, forever her western wave, small whisper, blue Ganon. O love, so hollowing in every soil that gives they sweet flower and flower's room, whoever nursed by ease or toil, the human heart takes bloom, plant of lost Eden from the sod of sinful earth unriven, white blossom of the trees of God dropped down to us from the heavens. This tangled waste of mound and stone is holy for thy sake, the sweetness which all thy own, breathless out from burn and break. And while the ancestral pride shall twine the Gascon's tomb with flowers, fall sweetly here, O song of mine, with the summer's bloom and showers, and let the lines that several seem unite again in thee, and the western wave and Galilee stream and mingled in one sea. That was a poem written by Whittier about the Countess Mary DeVore. She is buried up there in East Broadway, and people have seen her grave more than once. Not only seen their grave, but they've also seen her spirit. There's plenty of spirits out there, and the Countess is one that has been seen on East Broadway more than once by many. We've been to the cemetery, and we've actually caught an EVP in the area of the Countess. The grave is no longer there. There was an accident many years ago. Might have been close to 100 years ago, but maybe not, because I'm losing my mind with age. I think I'm maybe 100 to 200 years old, but you don't know what that old soul really is. This keeps me going strong. My old souls. Let's go find something else we can read, because Haverhill is full of them. All right, this is a good one too. It happens to be titled Haverhill. A little tough to read because we're in a dark, spooky garrison house. I think I just heard some footsteps upstairs. You don't know what you're hearing. I did. The spirits are restless. So let's talk about Haverhill. I remember Haverhill back then. I remember it very well. It was 1890s. Haverhill started in the 1640s. So right now, we're in the 1890s. Alrighty. See if we can get enough light. We're having light issues here. As it's getting dark, the storms are coming in. Very heavy tonight. Thunder, lightning will crash. And it's going to crash real hard. As we enjoy tonight. Let's take care of the issues here at hand as we move forward tonight. need to fill up the juice. Just having a little juice tonight. It was a little too warm for me to start up the fire tonight, or I probably would have had a nice glass of hot water and some nice rum. But it's been a little too warm tonight to start the fire behind me. So we're just going to have what we're having tonight and thoroughly enjoy this event. Haverhill gets harder and harder to read as it gets darker out. Here we go. Let's not cause a fire though. This was Haverhill, 1640 to 1890. I was born somewhere in the late 1880s. Read at celebration of the 250th anniversary of the city of Haverhill, July 2nd, 1890. So I was only 6 years old when this poem came out. Boy, I'm pretty old now, but I'm enjoying life at a young age. I've outlived many of my peoples, and I will continue to outlive, so I can bring you tales from the garrison house. Oh, river winding to the sea, we call the old time back to thee. From the forest paths to the waterways, to century-woven veil we raise. The voices of the day are dumb, unheard its sounds that go and come. We listen through long lasting years to footsteps of pioneers, gone steepled down and cultured plain. The wilderness returns again, the dear untrodden solitude, the gloom and mystery of wood. Once more the bear and the panther prowl, the wolf repeats its hungry howl. The peering through his leafy screen, the Indian's copper face is seen. We see their rude-built huts beside grave men and women, anxious-eyed, and wistful youth remembering still dear homes in England and Haverhill. We summon forth to the mortal view dark Passaquoddy and Sagahue, wild chiefs who owned the mighty way away of wizard Passaconaway. Weird memories of the border town, by old traditions handed down. Its chants and change before us pass like pictures in the magic glass. The terror and the midnight raid, the death concealing ambuscade, the winter march through deserts wild, of captive mother, wife, and child. Bleeding hands along, subdued and famed, the savage habitude of the forest, hiding beasts of prey, and human shapes as fierce as they. Show from the plow the woods withdrew. Slowly each year the corn lands grew. Not fire, not frost, not folk killed the Saxon energy of will. And never in the helmet's bound was the lack of sturdy manhood found, and never failed to kindle good of the brave and helpful woman's hood. The hamlet now a city, its long built huts are places that wood path and settlers cow is traffic's crowd highway now. Is traffic's crowded highway now? It certainly is. As far and wide it stretches still along the southward sloping of the hill, and overlooks on either hand the rich and many watered lands, and gladdening all the landscape fair, and as Pison was to Eden's pair. Our river to its valley brings the blessing of the mountain springs. And nature holds with narrowing space from mart and crowd her old-time grace. All the gods will fondly be jealous arms. Wild growths of outlying farms. Her sunsets on Canosa Falls. Her sunsets on Canosa Fall. Her autumn leaves by Saltonstall. No lavish gold can easily make her opinions or her outpoints of the hill and the lake. Wise was the choice which led the Ceres to kindle ere their household fires and share the large content of all, whose lines in pleasant places fall, more dear as years on years advance. We prize the old inheritance and feel as far and wide we roam, that all we seek we leave at home. Our palms and pines, our oranges, our apples, our orchards, trees, or thrushes are our nightingales. Our larks and blackbirds are our values. No incense which is the Orient burns. It's sweeter than our hillside ferns. What topic splendid can outvie our autumn woods, our sunset sky, if were only slow years come and went, and left not affluence but content. Now flashes in our dazzled eyes the electric light of enterprise, and the old idyllic case seems lost in keen activities, and crowded workshops now replace the heart of faiths, the hearth, and the farm fields rustic to the rustic in grace. So, no dull mechanic round of toil, life's morning charm can quiet despoil, and youth and beauty hand in hand will always find enchanted land. No task is ill where hand and brain and the skill and strength to have equal gain. and each in honor hold, and simple manhood outweigh gold. Earth shall be near to heaven when all that severs man from the man shall fall. For here and there salvation's plan alone is love and of God and man. O dwellers by the Merrimack, there is century at your back, still reaping where you have not sown. A broader field is now yours own. Some seed the flower or plant of worth, some added beauty to the earth, some larger hope, some thought to make. The sad world happens for its sake. As tenants for uncertain stay, so may we live our little day. The only grateful heart shall fill the homes we leave in Haverhill. The singer a farewell rhyme upon those utmost verge of time. The shades of night are falling down. Pray, God bless the good old town. That's interesting. Now, let's talk about some of the spooky things. Then we'll get back to maybe something a little different. Something I don't need my eyes for. Let's see if anybody's paying attention. They are, yes. We're live. So let's talk about what is and what isn't. I grew up in a house 100 years ago. It had many spirits floating in it. I also know of a cemetery where a settlement might have stayed one day that is haunted and is the most haunted graveyard I've ever walked in. You ever want to come out for a walk with me? More than happy to. It'd take a little time, but I can tell you the stories, because I've seen those stories. I've lived some of those stories. Hundreds of years of stories I've been able to tell. But they're enjoyable at first. But some of these stories are sad. And that's what we live with every day. We have a light that's going spooky over here. We really think there's a major problem here. Over at the mighty Pentucket burial ground that once stood, not one, but two buildings. Yes, not one, but two buildings. There was a lot of great things that went on in that area. Cemeteries are great. Pentucket's very haunted too. That's where all our fallen fathers, the start of this town's greatest history, happened right there at Pentucket Graveyard. And in that graveyard, there are terrible stories. People who died from different diseases, their stories live on. There's the 1708 massacre site. I remember that like that was yesterday too. I was around in a different life form, in a different spirit. Native tribes friendly to the French came swooping down 110 and made it into the downtown area, which was Mill Street. And they attacked the area. They attacked the area of the minister's home. It was near modern day City Hall. They killed the minister. One daughter escaped. There were a lot of the families escaped, but it was the last bloodiest raid in Haverhill. To that, Klinger Glass, to Lieutenant John Johnson, Captain Samuel Eyre, and everybody else that died on that fateful day. Many more stories coming to tell. I knew you would like that one. It's exciting, it's new, and it's fun. I gotta load up some more here. Quite thirsty tonight. Brought me many of things for tonight. So we can keep telling stories. Let's go back in time. We've done a little Whittier. Let's go find somebody else. Let's go locate Edgar Allan Poe. Ooh, here's a good one. Spirits of the Dead. That's how I feel. In fact, my buddy right here, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here tonight. So, once that happens, if that crow is to leave, then I'm going to leave too, because that crow is my spirit that keeps me going, that dug me out of my natural encasement, out of the grave. Spirits of the dead, thy soul shall find itself alone, mid dark thoughts of gray tombstones, not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy, by silent in solitude, which is not loneliness. For then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still. The night thou clear shall frown, and the stairs shall look not down from their high thrones in heaven, with light like hope to mortals given, by their red orb without beam, to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and fever which would cling to thee forever. Now thoughts thou shalt not banish, now are visions near to vanish, from the spirit shall still pass. No more like dewdrop from the grass. The breeze, the breath of God, is still, and in the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, its symbol and a token of how it hangs upon the trees. A mystery of mysteries. Lenora. Ah, broken is the golden bowl, the spirit flown forever. Let the bell toll, ding ding. A saintly soul floats on the Stygian river, and Guy Dever, last thou no tear, weep now or never more. Steal on your dear and rigid bier, low lies thy love, Lenore. Come, let the burial rite be read, the funeral song to be sung, an anthem for the Queen's list, dead or even died so young. A dirge from her doubly dead, and that she died so young. Wretched, wretches, ye love her for her wealth, ye hated her for her pride, and when she fell feeble health, ye blessed her that she died. How shall the ritual then be read? You require how to be suing by you, by yours, the evil eye. By yours, the slanderous tongue that did to death the innocent that died, and died so young. Precavernous, yet rave not thus, but let the Sabbath song go up to God so solemnly the dead may feel no wrong. A sweet Lenore hath gone before, with hope that flew besides, leaving thee wild for their dear children, and children that should have been the bride for her, the fair of Demar, and how slowly lies the life upon her yellow hair, but not within her eyes. The life still there upon her hair, the death upon her eyes. Avant, avant, friends below the indignant ghost, its river from the land, from hell unto high estate, far up within the heavens, from grief and groan, the golden throne besides the King of heaven. Let nor bell toll them. Let her soul amid the hallowed mirth should catch the note of its doth float boat up from the damned earth. And it tonight my heart is light. No deeds will upraise, but waft of the angel on her high flight with peen of old days. All right. Get some more local great stories in, and then we're going to talk about my friend. There's a lot of local folklore that has really moved up, you could say, in the area of folklorists and whatnot and beyond. But some of this stuff, the two-headed snake in Newburyport, written by Whittier, which we have done that one before. You can check that out at another date and time. We talk about the two-headed snake that Whittier wrote about. All right, let's talk about an area that I'm very familiar with. If you're home listening and you're in the Haverhill area, listen good. Bermuda has the Bermuda Triangle. The Pacific Ring of Fire has the Pacific Ring of Fire. The Ossipee Triangle in Ossipee, and from Salem on a weird angle all the way up to Jackson, you have the Ossipee Triangle. You have the Great Bennington Triangle. Here in Massachusetts, we have the notorious Bridgewater Triangle. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. We're going to tell some stories about the Canosa Triangle. Yes, you heard that right. The Canosa Triangle. Let's start off with some of the graveyards. You've got the Countess off East Broadway. That's what you want to see. That's got a lot of great stories and folklore in it. Another thing you want to pay attention to, if you can pay attention and see what's going on, not just there, but pay attention elsewhere, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the Canosa Triangle. If you live there and you think you've had something go bump in the night, you probably did. Give us a call. The Canosa Triangle goes, so if you stand at Monument Square and open up your arms like this in Monument Square and go that way, so it goes from the river all the way to 125, the Plastow line. In that area, you have a cemetery that had plenty of shadow figures in it. You have a house, 3 houses down in Riverside that are purportedly haunted. I've gotten calls, but one family member doesn't want it in, so I don't get in the middle of that. But they still stay in contact. So you can see all the fun places. And in this triangle here at Canosa Lake, towards the back of it, you got a trailer park. 2 women from there at different times, they don't even know each other, called us in. We'll be doing some work over there in the near future to help these people out too. But Whittier wrote about Canosa Lake. I've seen them, apparitions, weird lights over the lake, all in my lifetime. Remember, I'm over 100, so I've seen a lot. but I'm holding on well, even though I don't look great. But I do look good for 100. In that same area, you have the East Broadway and the Countess's home, and many other homes that have now been sold off, and some have been redeveloped, and people call up and say, I don't understand how I got a spirit in my house. And I just look, and I don't say much. Anything else people want to talk about? So we'll continue. Winnicott Castle, according to my sources, have issues with the paranormal. So does it Whittier Birthplace. And we'll see where this all goes, because there's a great number of things, UFO sightings. There was a UFO sighted just the Thursday before Christmas. That night, a UFO was spotted. It hovered over the place, over the backlands. It never drew land, so we don't know what it wanted. It would be interesting to see what it might have wanted, but we can't tell you what they want because we didn't see it. We can go all night, but I'm running out of my special mix. And without my special mix, it's real hard to survive. Alright. Looks like some of Canosa Lake has been buried in from some of the old maps I've seen to protect the Winnicott Basin and everywhere else around it. So it's a real interesting location. There are Native American spirits up there. I've caught them myself. There's been shadow figures seen. People jogging with spirits. That must be fun. I never had that happen, but I've heard it happen. So that's the Winnicott Basin, East Broadway, the Merrimack River, where planes crashed for no apparent reason. There was a huge plane crash and a very sad ending to an honorable man in the city named Howard Dutton at Dutton's Airport. There's not much left of that. I think what I read was the city's trying to develop that into more business out there. We'll have to wait and see. But there should be a plaque in memory of Howard Dutton. He deserved every inch of that plaque. All right. Let's get back. Let's get back to something. Now remember, I've told you, I've been brought back a few times. The last time I came back alive was because of this crow. So he will stay with me permanently. And I only come back for this time of year. But I promise I will be back. So let's get into a couple more poems, a little bit more spooky talk, and then we're going to wrap it up for the night. This is a long one, but it's one of my favorite ones. So we're going to wrap it up with the end. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Poe is a great writer. He knew what he had to write. And we're going to start. There he is, the raven or the crow that brought me back to life. And then I will go back to my graveyard later on and go back to sleep. But thanks to this fine animal, I've been able to come back for you tonight. But I will have to go soon. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered the weak and weary over many quaint, curious volumes of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping. As some gently rapping at my chamber door. Tea is some visitors, I muttered, tipping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Ah, distantly I remembered, it was a bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my sure case of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rate and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, who come. Angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each people curtain filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still locating of my heart, I stood repeating, tea is some visitors entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance to my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating with no longer. Sir, I said, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping so gently, and you came rapping, and so faintly upon you came tapping at my chamber door. There I was sure I heard you. Here I opened the door, and darkness there, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within my burning, with me burning. Some again I heard the tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what threat it is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still to the moment that mysteries explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more. Open I flung the shutter with many a flirt and flutter. It's there stepped stately raven of the saintly days of your not at least obedience made he not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with mien of the Lord or Lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon the bust and poles of just above my chamber door, perched sat nothing more. This ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling by the grave and stern decorum of the contents it wore. Thy crest be shorn, the shaven thou, I said art sure, no craven, ghostly grin, ancient raven wandering from the night shores. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's wind Plutonian shore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer a little meaning, life little relevancy bore, for we cannot help in agreeing that there's no living human beings ever yet was blessed with seeing a bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculpted bust in his chamber door, with such names as nevermore. But the raven, still sitting lonely on placed bust, spoke only that one word, as if his sound in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before, and only morrow he will leave me, as my hopes were flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled by the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock and store, caught from unhappy master whom's unmerciful disasters followed fast, till his songs one burden bore, till the digs of his hope that melancholy burden bore, or of nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling my sad fancy into too smiling straight, I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of a bird and the bust and doom. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy into fancy, thinking, what is this ominous bird of yore? What this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, ominous bird of yore? meant is croaking nevermore. Then I sat engaged and guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the howl whose fury eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining with my head and ease the reclining. Oh, on the cushion's velvet lining, that lamp light glowed o'er, but chose velvet violet lining with lamps light gloating o'er, shall be present, nevermore. Then melt through the air grew dealer, I perfumed from an unseen censer swung by the serpent whose footfalls included one on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, the God hath and lent me by these angels he hath sent thee. Respite and negative neopenteth from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh, quaff, it shall keep it clear. Quota the raven nevermore. Prophet, I said, the thing of evil. Prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempted or not, get the tempest, they could get the tempest tossed there. He could desolate, you would desolate, yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted. On this home, by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there a balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still bird or devil, but what heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore. Tell this soul with sorrow how much you had to do. Tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aden, it's getting real dark in here. The darkness is taking over. It shall clasp a saint and maiden whom angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare, radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven nevermore. But the words our sign, parting bird or friend, I shriek, upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night Plutonian shovel. No, the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of what the lie thy soul had spoken. Leave me loneliness unbroken, quite the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out of my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never fitting, still is sitting on a paled bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all seemingly a demon that is dreaming. And a lamplight or him streaming throws his shadows on the floor. And my soul from out that shadow, still shadow that lies floating on the door, on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. That was a nice long poem, written by Poe. I mean, if it wasn't for that raven, I wouldn't be here tonight. So I'm very, very pleased to have been here tonight. I want to thank, in serious, we've had a great evening tonight. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Had a great evening. We had a little trouble getting started. That was the ghosts. So let's toast to a great evening, and let's enjoy the rest of the mysteries of the beyond, and the mysteries and the stories and everything else that goes with it, and the tales of the Garrison House. Good night, everybody.